صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا هؤلاء قومنا اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Can we please begin with a Fatiha for all those who require our prayers and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On Sunday, the Sayyid gave a wonderful lecture about the love of Allah. He explained that many of us have false idols whom we have taken as our masters instead of God. The Sayyid gave the example of the phone. For many of us, the lecture was an important reminder about where we must place our hearts, and of course, that is with Allah. He is our only love, and the Quran emphasizes this point in verse 33, in Surah 33, verse 4. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ. Allah has not placed in any man two hearts. Now, the idea of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being our only true love is wonderful, and all of us claim this statement to be truth. However, something to consider is that for many of us, like myself, this claim is almost completely mechanical in that there is no spirit to back it up. The reality is, for most of us, Allah is not our one true love. The Quran alludes to this reality in Surah Yusuf, verse 106, where He says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. And most of them do not believe in Allah without also ascribing partners to Him. Allah here has used the word mushrik to describe people with iman, people like you and I. Now, how can people with iman be polytheistic? The answer is that this is not referring to an outer polytheism, but rather an inner one. This is referred to in the Quran in Surah Az-Zumar, verse 45. وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ اشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. When Allah is mentioned alone, thereat shrink away the hearts of those who do not believe in the Akhirah. I fear that many of us have lost touch. We present this outer display of sincerity, but on the inside we are worshipping idols right, left, and center. Our hearts have been given to this dunya and its glitter. Our orientation is no longer towards Allah. But this is what Ramadan is for reviving the hearts. This is what these sahras are for, these lectures are for. And the most important thing for us to have is taqwa. We must be pious and utterly dependent upon Allah. An important point the Honorable Sayyid has touched upon and will be elaborating further throughout his lectures. So can we please welcome Sayyid Hassan Mujtaba Rizvi with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and glory belongs to Allah, the one who has given us a choice. The biggest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon a human being is the ability to choose to the highest degree, where we can decide for our eternity what state we're going to be in. The rest of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do have a choice as well, but they don't have the choice to the level that we do. يُسَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ is something that we all know, that everything is doing glorification or tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In order to do glorification or tasbih, choice is required. You cannot put a gun on my forehead and say, do my glorification. Although that seems to be the foreign policy of a lot of the countries, that they will say either you're with us or you're against us, so you have to glorify regardless. In order to do tasbih, you need to have some sort of emotions of love. You need to understand the being that you are glorifying. Every creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to its own degree. But no other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been given the choice and the ability to, for that hadith which is famous among all of us, of the Holy Prophet, that man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbah. That it is in yourself, within yourself. If you were to acquire knowledge about who you are, that will equate to the knowledge of your Creator, of your Sustainer. That's the highest level of choice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to any creation of His. So, it seems like the brother, when he comes here and speaks, it's the whole speech. Basically, I just end up talking about the same things that he has mentioned. Yeah, he brought the verses as well, and mashallah, it was very concise, and we'll just go around what he has said. Taqwa is a word that we use very often. It's something which is very common to us, it's very familiar to us. But it's an Arabic word, and the thing is, when you translate something from Arabic into English or into Urdu or into Farsi, you lose a lot. And it's very It's a very simple example I can give you. If this is the bottle of water, and if I had another container, it would have been nice. But if this is the bottle of water and I want to put into another container, right? The container would have to be the same ml or bigger, right? If I was to put it in, let's say this is, I don't know, 500 ml, if the container was 200, the whole water is not going to go in there, right? The most vast language in the world is Arabic. Like the container of Arabic is so vast. There is no other language that can come close to it. I mean, to describe one thing like date, kajur, what we call it, you've got like over 60 or more words for it, right? So whenever you translate Arabic into another language, you're going to lose. You're not going to be able to get the whole meaning into the other language. And English happens to be the most constrained language. There's, for example, ghaira. There is no word that will actually translate that. So the words in Arabic become concepts. For people who are familiar with English or Urdu or Farsi, it's not just a translation of one word to another, but it becomes a concept. Okay. So one of the translations we have of taqwa is righteousness. Okay. In order to be righteous, you need power. You need control. Right? So taqwa in Arabic is actually a concept that goes to the root of it, why things are, and that is power and control. The other translation we end up doing in Farsi is like parhezgar. Basically means someone who's on a diet. So when you have that as a diet, like you need control to be able to stick to a diet. Right? I mean, when New Year comes, many people make their resolutions that they will lose weight, or they'll go to the gym, or thank you very much, or they will recite a certain amount of the verses of the Holy Quran, or they will read a particular book, or they'll go through some of the lectures. But they're not able to do that. Why? Because they're weak. It's just that simple. Their willpower is not there. They don't have control. They don't have power. Okay? So for the discussion of today, or if I have an opportunity in the other, I think 2 more hours that we have left with you, let's think of taqwa as control and power. Instead of thinking of righteousness, let's think of it as power, as control. So when you think about power or control, what comes to your mind first? We can make it into like an interactive last time too, yes. It could be mindfulness or awareness, or be conscious about something. It can be an oppressive control, which actually is the control that, and what this oppressive control is based on one emotion, and that is, if it was love, it would be very different. Do you remember last time I spoke about that you make your decisions either out of fear or love? Right? So the one that is being introduced to us from the very beginning for control is fear. Right? So this pandemic is a great example of it. COVID's gonna kill you. COVID cannot kill you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna kill you. Yuhyi wa yumit. He's the one who gives life, He's the one who takes away life. If this is the case, if this is our iman, if this is our belief, then why did we make sanitizer as something that's going to save us? People were sanitizing their double. Good. They'll get a coffee, then do sanitizing that, grocery sanitize, everything, you know. They went through this OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, about everything. Based on what? Fear. Mortgage. You know what mortgage means? It's a Latin word. Do you know what mortgage means? Mort means death, gauge means the noose. You know, when they hang people, that's the noose that they have to hang them. It's called mortgage. So people who wake up in the morning, they have this thing in there, and they're only 1 or 2 paycheck basically away from being homeless. So they wake up in the morning not out of, I really want to go to work because I love my work. They're going there because if they don't have first or second or 6 months worth of savings they don't have, they're gonna, you have to do your assignment. Why do you have to do your assignment? I really love doing my assignments. Anybody here loves going to university? Loves, oh man, I'm so pumped up in the mornings. I really want to do this assignment today, or this exam of mine is going to be great because I'm so in love with this exam and this topic that I'm going to do great. It's out of fear. When we were young, do this, otherwise what's going to happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to get upset. He's going to get angry with you. Do your namaz, do your salah, otherwise you're going to heaven. Wear your hijab, do it properly, otherwise you're going to be hung from those hair that are showing. Yeah? Even from the very beginning, the concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seems as if it's like a mazallah, 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 like a monster just waiting to grab you. We were not raised on the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We were raised neither on the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We were raised on the fear of the hellfire. You don't want to burn, so we'll do what you're telling us. Whereas the biggest power for control is actually not fear, is love. It's love. I have children, mashallah, alhamdulillah, 2 daughters, 2 sons. You say, you call me Maulana, Sayyid, this and that, somebody. And you'll find me, same person in the house, giving a piggy bank to my daughter. On all my 4s. And my daughter is like on top of me, and I'm as a ride for her. What made me do that? Love. So when you change your paradigm, when you change your worldview, and you change it from a basis of, I'm not going to do something out of fear, but I'm going to do something out of love. That power will make you the strongest human being on the face of this earth. The companions of Imam Hussain went to Karbala out of what? Fear? It was love. Their love for Imam Hussain was so strong, they did not care who came in front of them, whether they was their own family, whether they were own relatives, they didn't care. And one of the companions of Imam Hussain is crying, and Imam goes to him and says, don't worry, you're going to go to the battlefield, you're going to get martyred, the Holy Prophet is going to give you, from Hal al-Kawthar, and you're going to be fine forever. And he said to Imam Hussain, he said, Imam, I'm not crying because I have to go to the battlefield. I'm crying because I'm going to go, and I'm going to be apart from you. I will not see you anymore. And when Imam Hussain said to the companion that, go, I am coming right after you, he had a smile on his face. And he went to the battlefield. What do you think is going to be the photocopy of the companions of Imam Hussain? The photocopy of the companions of Imam Hussain are the companions of Imam Zaman. If there was ever a photocopy of those 72 companions, it's going to be the companions of the Imam of the time. So love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be the core, the defining factor in their lives. So if you were to give another name for taqwa, that would be control. And the more control you have, the more spiritual you are. And the more control you have, the more powerful you are. And the less you have of that, it's just that much weak you are, and just that much opportunity for you to go astray you have. Okay? Spirituality is not about who does many namazes, or who does nawafil, or who does du'as, or who does... That's not spirituality. You understand? Or we think about spirituality of Terrul Arz, you become like Ayatollah Bahjat Rahmatullah, and you can fly over to different other countries without a ticket. That would be cool. Or to have the superpowers to be able to read the minds of others and, to heal them just going like this, and that's a spiritual person. Spirituality is not that. Spirituality is within you, and that is your control. I mean, there is a certain degree of control that's required for salah as well, but think about it, 17 minutes. Like if you did all of your 5 prayers, how long did it take you? It's okay, come on, I got a chance to drink some water. 17 minutes. Right? You know the hardest part about namaz is? Wudu. That's the hardest part. Once you've done wudu, namaz is easy. It's the ability to get up and go to the water, and then as soon as that water touches you, right? Namaz is just so easy. So there is a certain level of control that's required, but if you think about it, in 24 hours is only 17 minutes. If there was a task given to you, and out of that task you could do like 2%, and you say, I'm really good at it, would you? If you got marks out of 100, you got 2%, you'd be like, I'm amazing. In the 24 hours, how many minutes are there? You can use your phone for calculator if you want. 1 hour has, 3,600 minutes. In seconds, but not yet. In minutes. Yeah, 60 minutes in 1 hour. Multiplied by 24. 14,000? Oh. Out of 1,440 minutes, you were able to show control for 17 minutes. What's the ratio of that? Would it even be 90, would it be even 1%? Somebody please? Really? Works out. So like, if you were to just do your salah and you say, I have a lot of control, that's like 1% you got marks out of 100. If you look at the whole year, there are 365 days, there's 12 months. Out of those 12 months, for 30 days, and sometimes it's 29, and we argue whether it's 29 or 28, and everybody's going to start fighting soon about when the Eid is going to be. We get to fast. Is that a lot of control? In 365 days, you were able to do something for 30 days. Is that control? Once in your lifetime, you have to go for Hajj. And that too, if the conditions are met. If there's no conditions, Hajj is not wajib on you. If we base our spirituality just on these things, we're kind of deceiving ourselves. Because there are many, The ones that are in Saudi, Azan happens, they're there in the masjids, they're praying by Jamaat, they've got Quran, Hifz, all this. You go back into Khawarij were, if one of those people walked in, you'd be like, oh, wow, this guy must be really spiritual. This guy like a forehead, and the mark is like the knee of a camel. The lips are dry, the eyes have gone inside because of fasting. The stomach, the stomach is touching the back. The knees are scraped. Oh wow, very spiritual person. Imam Ali alayhi salam, 4,000 of them said, don't even leave one. So, if you think about yourself as a spiritual person, you have to, or I have to, when I say you, I'm included, okay? We're going to have to measure ourselves on how much level of control we have. What is the level of control you have on your eyes? What is the level of control you have over your ears? What is the level of control you have over your thoughts? What is the level of control you have over your emotions? What is the level of control you have on your behavior? And if you have, you're a spiritual person. If you don't, majority of the people that you think are very spiritual, when you go and see them in the house, they're very different. And the more they become spiritual, the less they talk to people. They have their eyes down, they don't want to talk to anybody. They seclude themselves, they go in a corner. They say, oh, he's a very spiritual person. Imam Ali alayhi would say, a mu'min's face always has a smile, and whatever is bothering is within the heart. One of the reasons why they did not give him the position that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordained for him was because he smiles too much. He's just a very happy person. They wanted someone serious and a little bit older. They almost have the same criteria as we do for a spiritual person. When I tell you that Imam Ali had a smile on his face all the time, your image is kind of getting corrupted. And that's not what, when you think of Imam Ali, you think about the Zulfiqar, you think about, but he had a smile on his face all the time. Right? So, if you want to know what spirituality is, it's about control. All right? And one of the things which we talked about, I think previously, was about the phones. Right? Did anybody do a roza, a fast, a phone, since I spoke to you? No? What I had said was for 24 hours, leave your phone. Right? Put it in a closet, put it in a cupboard, put it in a lock. For 24 hours, do not touch your phone. Did anybody do? No? Why not? If you're a spiritual person and you feel you have control over, I am the master of myself. Okay? If you're a master of yourself, then show control. Leave your phone. When you look at social media, and social media has been told to us that it is a drug and it is an addiction and it is harder for a person to let go of the social media than of cocaine and hard drugs, show some control. Don't go on Twitter for a day. TikTok. When Facebook came out, I kept on telling people this is wrong. I don't have an account on Facebook. I'm still alive. Look, I'm breathing. I don't have TikTok. I'm okay. I don't have Twitter. I'm fine. Do I look okay to you? Like nothing happened to me. I didn't die. And then how can somebody tell you that don't close your Facebook account when, let's say even a person, a Maulana would have his own Facebook account? So he can't tell you to stop using Facebook. Parents can't tell you. You know, majority of the people that are the users of Facebook are older people now. You guys have been kicked out of Facebook. It's the parents and the grandmothers. So where do you have to go now? You know, you thought like Instagram was pretty cool. Well, they are on Instagram too now. Where are you going to go now? Maybe TikTok. You know, soon they are going to be there too. So when we know that social media is an addiction and we are addicted to it, how come we cannot show control? Why? Is it out of the love that we have? Is it out of fear that what will happen if you don't have? Because of that, you know, the other thing that is happening to us is that we are becoming a photocopy of people around us. Like, you know, for example, the Western view of world, which is becoming of their photocopy. The photocopy means that our thinking patterns are the same. It's just that you have a hijab on, the brothers have a beard, but what is happening inside is the same thing which is happening inside of the minds of all of the people around us. Have you guys heard of the Shia voice? Like American Idol? Yeah? It's like American Idol, but they can't use Idol because that would be like, oh my God, we can't have this, not an Islamic name. Like, you know, when people wanted to do Halloween, they start calling Halalloween. Just because you call it Halalloween doesn't mean that it's like okay now. That is not actually the root of the rituals of the pagans. Just because you call it Halalloween. You know. With that, you know, they're making a mockery of Islam. And the youths are with them. Oh, it's such a nice thing, you know. I mean, the guy went up and he did Masaiba Bibi Fatima. He cried on it. And he's being judged, and the judge is saying, you put too much spice in this. You did overacting. You should not have done that. We don't need any of this. Because our thinking pattern, our worldview, and our goals are the same, we're trying to put this worldview on top of Islam, and whatever is coming inside of it we're taking, and the rest we're good. Because our youths need to listen to some sort of rhythm, some sort of, you know, the voice are going up and down. So we will make those nasheeds, we will make those, poetry in that way so that we can satisfy that need that we feel inside of music. And because of that, the Shia voice is popular. We don't want our lives to be under the cookie cutter of Islam. We want Islam to be under the cookie cutter of ours. You know cookie cutter? In the old days we used to make like cookies. Now you can go to Costco, get a few for $8, $9. You don't have to. So you would have the dough and you put the cookie cutter on top, and whatever would come in, you'll make a cookie, the rest you'll throw away. We're putting our cookie cutters on top of Islam. Whatever fits in, we're taking, and the rest we're throwing away. It should have been the other way. So when I talk about control, it's very important that you get that much power inside that you're willing to stand up on those principles, those values, those morals, and that worldview that has been given to us by Imam Hussain, by the Quran. Right? So, now transitioning into another thing, it's nice if you can recite the salawat. That would You can say it a bit louder, it'll be nicer. So love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Is there something you love? Is there someone or something that you love? Have you ever called or said to someone, I love you? Mom? Dad? Sister? Brother? Teacher? No. No. Have you ever said to your phone, I love you? I'm sure. It's probably more than words. Because if it was not love, then if you lose it, why are you upset? Why can't you eat? Why can't you sleep? If it breaks, it breaks. Like if you know, remember the phone when you break your phone, that noise that comes, it's like your heart's broken now. Right? If it was not love, why would you feel that way? All of the things that you love. All of the things that you love. Now we want to equate this with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? All of the things that you love is nothing more but just the projection of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we try to find this love somewhere. We'll try to find it in the masjid, we'll try to find it in somewhere else, but this love that exists inside of you, that emotion that you have felt from others is nothing more but the projection of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Love of your mother is nothing more than the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Love of your brother. You know, like, do you see what I'm trying to say? Is that when we say that I love my mother, we don't equate that with the love that she is giving to you as the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? But you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given your mother as the projection of His love. That also includes your dad, by the way. We take dad out of the picture. Anything or anyone that you're going to say, I love you, is nothing more than in return the love of Allah. There's nothing more. We just don't see it this way. You know, when I was teaching madrasa for the mashallah, you guys are older and mashallah. For the kindergarten, sort of like the young kids, I used to say to them, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you a hug. But He can't give it to you because it's just like giving a hug to an ant. Aunt or ant? I always mix up. Ant. You know, if you really love the ant, let's say, and you want to give it a hug, if you give it a hug, it'll die. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you a hug, and in order to give that hug to you, He created your mother. He's the one who gives the food to Tifl al-Saghir. In Dua Joshan Kabir, we have one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one who feeds the small child. He's the one feeding you, but He's feeding you through your mother. He's the one who protects you. He's protecting you through your father, through your brother. So there is nothing in your life that is not a projection of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're already in love with Him. We just don't know it. You know, even because we kind of constrained with time, so can't really expand too much about the topic, but you know, even hellfire is a projection of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hellfire is actually the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hellfire is a being that is in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, so the torment and punishment that we think of is actually the cleansing process. Yeah. Right. So poverty in itself is actually a creation of man. It's not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, right now there's 18 families or 18 people that actually own all of the wealth of the world. The one stat I saw that 18 people own the same amount of money as 3.5 billion people. So poverty is not something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created poverty. He has given sustenance to everybody. He's given the opportunity for sustenance for everybody. The problem is when a few people hoard that, it creates poverty. Right? Like we have food here, just because you asked the question, and I'm coming to what can the people who are suffering with poverty do. We have all of this food here, right? So it's supposed to be for everybody, right? If I go and from the table pick up everything and just leave you a few grapes, whose fault is that? Is it the management? It's not the management, it's me. I'm the one. Right? So the people who are in that state, they need to think about what is actually richness and what is actually poverty. Because a lot of times what we think of poverty is not poverty. Like for example, you love Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Okay? You love him? Yes or no? We will give our lives for him, right? We love Bibi Fatima Zahra salam. We love Bibi Khadija salam. We love them. Regardless of what you think that I don't, you do love them. When the Masahib of Imam Hussain salam are recited, people who have lost their parents, they forget about them, but they do not forget about Imam Hussain salam. They cry as if it is right now. Karbala is happening. It's something which is in it, right? If I was to say to you, okay, I'm going to take that love of Imam Ali from your heart, you will never be able to cry on the Masahib of Imam Hussain. In return, I'll give you $1 trillion. Would you take it? No. So this love that you feel inside for Imam Hussain is worth more than $1 trillion. What is richness? And poverty? These are things that we've kind of mixed up. We think poverty is only money. Someone doesn't have money, they're poor. The most poor people are the ones who have the most amount of money. Why? Because when you look at their lives, they have no higher purpose. Someone who does not have a higher purpose is a poor person. Just going through the motions of life. Right? Someone who does not know where they're coming from, why they're here, and where they're going is a poor person. A person who becomes, even like you can be poor as far as smartness is concerned. This guy who used to be on the wheelchair is gone now. He used to say that, science have eliminated the need of God. That's poverty. You're looking at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the complexity of it. You've made theories that are explaining the intricacies of this universe. You're talking about multiple verses. And you're saying that we have eliminated the need of God? The wheelchair that you're sitting on that is sustaining you, is someone made it or not? Yeah, it's definitely a curse from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people, He says that the ones who are the wali of shaitan, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does to them is take them from light into darkness. And the one who are mu'min, He takes them from darkness into light. So the tears that you have for Imam Hussain, that's your richness. The love you have for him, that's the actual richness. So a person who feels that they are poor, they need to look at what is actually richness and what is poverty. You guys are really rich. You are. You sitting here and or the day that you fasted, it's your richness. The love you have for these beings is your richness. Right? So you're not poor. It's not all about money. The ones who have the most amount of money are, I believe, they're the poorest. Like, they're that poor they can't even sleep without an antidepressant. Right? Okay, so recite a salawat so we can. So there is when we talk about the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just think about in your life whatever emotions you feel that someone loves you, someone is kind towards you, is actually the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you give that kindness or love in return, you're giving this love and kindness in return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that way, you already are in love with Him. You just have to change that mindset. Okay? When you pray salah, don't right away jump into the salah. Just sit down for a little while before you start your salah and think about the blessings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you, and think about that this is a time for you to express your love for Him. It's not something just as a duty that you have to do. It is something that is an opportunity to show your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's not just in salah that you can show love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Okay, so is this point clear or no? Do I need to emphasize it more? Do you love your hijab? Sisters, for the brothers, I'm coming to you. Do you love your hijab? This love for hijab is not the love for hijab, it's the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you understand that every time you wear this hijab, it is an expression that you are showing your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your hijab is going to become totally different. You're not going to be looking for those patterns, or I gotta make it this way because this is the in thing now, I gotta make this, or look through YouTube on how to have this hijab done. You're not gonna be looking through that. For the brothers too, this beard, having a beard, is an expression of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you don't have to go through the barber who, pay him $30 or maybe more to make this line like this, and gotta make this line and then fade it, and then Okay. Going to university or going to college or going to school, it is also an expression of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because the knowledge that you're going to gain is the knowledge about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you understand the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you're going to fall in love with Him. I'll give you one example and then we'll pause if there are any questions. I forgot what time I started, so maybe, I don't know, maybe we have 15 more minutes. In your body, there are 100 trillion unicell organisms. In your body, there are 100 trillion unicell organisms. 60% more or less are viruses. Did you know that? 60% more or less are viruses. The rest are, bacteria, and about 10% of it is the cells that you got from your parents. And in each one of those unicell organisms, 100,000 chemical reactions are happening per second. Okay? And on top of your skin, there are 100 trillion unicell organisms. 2.5 feet above the ground, till the ozone layer, everything, there's viruses and bacteria that are filling the air. There's no empty space. Right? When you think about just your own existence, how much synchronicity is required for each cell having 100,000 chemical reactions per second, multiply that by 100 trillion in seconds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is maintaining you. There are two cells that don't, because every 7 years you have a new body. Did you know that? You guys study science. I'm supposed to be a man of cloth. I should not know these facts. You know that a worm has 5 hearts? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I did not give, the brother just read that verse, I did not give 2 hearts to a man or to a person in the chest. He gave 5 hearts to the worm. You didn't know that? It has 5 hearts, yeah. So, there are 2 cells that don't divide. And those are your retina and your pacemaker cells. The rest of the cells, every 7 years you have a new body. There are things called telomere in your cells, and these telomeres are like shoelaces. Every time the cell divides, it goes a little bit less. Okay? Those telomeres have the potential for you to keep on going through the cellular division till the age of 120. Imagine that. So if you're 50, how long you got more? Yeah. You see, the amount, these are all about creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where am I getting all of these stuff from? Right? You want one more? It would be quite interesting. When you fast, right? Inside of your body, there is 50,000 calories that are stored at any given time. How many? 50,000 calories. You can go without food for 7 days and you're going to be okay. So, if I was to now start talking to you about quantum physics, which is actually, I love that. I think quantum theory is something which explains a lot of things that are metaphysical or spiritual. Where am I getting all of this from? It's because I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to know about His creation. So when you go to university and you're studying physics or biology or chemistry, think of that. That you're learning about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is an expression of the love, or to fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem with these people is that they say, everything got created out of nothing. So this knowledge does not take them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for you it should. Imagine doing an assignment, right? Remember I told you, make that decision out of love. I love doing this assignment because I'll find out about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the more I find out about the complexity of it, the more I'm going to fall in love with Him. So my education degree by the end of 4 years or 5 years is going to be that I'm going to be more in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than before I did the degree. These are some practical things. Okay, so you want to relate it to the cell phone? Because you're looking at me. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the ability, or where's mine? I have one. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the ability and this is what an atom kind of looks like. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the ability and the opportunity for human beings to come to bring together raw material where you can have trillions, and I think trillions is not really a big word anymore, about the data that is out there to have in the palm of your hand. Right? When you look at it as a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is something to be amazed by. By what? Samson? No. The one who gave the ability. Right? Another example I can give you, Bugatti, for example. You guys know what Bugatti is? Car, yeah. Or Lamborghini, or whatever you want to call it. GTR, or McLaren, whatever it is. If you look at that machine, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the ability to human being to come up and put 900 or more horsepower in that, it's amazing. But what is not amazing is that when that person gets connected to that Bugatti as if the Bugatti is the God and the person who owns it is the Abd. That's where the problem is. Right? Somebody asked me, can I have a Lamborghini? I'm like, oh, dude, okay, fine, buy one. I said, well, with one condition. If you get a scratch on that, nothing should happen to your heart. He said, I can't do that. I said, then you can't. You can earn money. The only problem with that is that when you get yourself attached to money so much that if you lose it, you lose your faith. You lose it, you lose yourself. This is where the problem is. You can love your job, but this love of your job, it cannot be for the job in itself. Right? So I'm trying to give you some things that are practical, which you can do on daily basis. You just have to shift your mind a little bit. Okay. So I think my time is done. If you have any questions, you can ask. We're supposed to be here with you on Sunday as well. I'm good with sitting with you till Sahur. It's not a big deal for me. If you have questions, Bismillah. If not, then I don't want to be in between you and the love of croissants and grapes and cantaloupes. Thank you.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. مأجورين إن شاء الله سيدنا. Very nice and enlightening lecture. I think now suhoor should be ready, so we're gonna give it ladies first, inshallah. Ladies, akhawat, tfaddalo. There's tea, grapes, and manaish and everything. So, taqwa Allah.